What up, friends? Gonna make a little kale recipe tonight. A lot of people shy away from kale. I really like kale. Don't be afraid of kale. So kale is very high in vitamin A, vitamin K, vitamin C, and something that starts with an F. Don't really, folia, I believe. But I eat this recipe a lot. I made it a lot. People seem to like it. It's very easy. Give it a shot. So what's in it? Kale, a couple cans of diced tomatoes, can of Rotel if you like things a little spicy. I throw a can of Rotel in. Chicken stock. I use boneless chicken thighs. I happen to have some celery left in the refrigerator, so I'm going to use some celery. An onion chopped. I have this sausage, sweet Italian sausage. I don't normally make it with sweet Italian sausage in it as well, but I'm going to throw it in tonight. And some spice. I always spice. I don't spice the dish. I spice the meat when I put it in first, and I let the dish draw on the spice from the meat. I'm using tonight Bangkok blend by Penzeys, going a little like an Asian theme tonight. You could use a 5-spice blend if you want, if you like your spices on that side. The best spice that I found, and I use it on everything, and I'm out of it tonight, but if you have a Wegmans near you, the Wegmans Tuscan seasoning is the best spice I've ever found. So what am I going to do? I'm going to, first off, I got some water boiling here in the pan that I'm going to use. You're going to need a big pan for this because that kale mounds up in there until it starts to wilt down, and you really need a big pan. I'm going to take these sausage, I'm just going to put them in this boiling water to get them about 3/4 done, and then I'm going to pull them out and slice them and set them aside. All right, I think I got everything ready. So I got my onions chopped. I had some fresh garlic that I chopped. I don't believe I mentioned chopped garlic before. I chopped my celery. I don't believe I mentioned chicken stock before. You'll want at least a box of chicken stock, a quart, and maybe a little more. Got my cans open, ready to go. I got my sausage cooked right here. I like to cook this sausage, pre-cook it, just simmer it in water in a pan until about the center, maybe smaller than the size of a dime, is still just a little pink. I've already coated the chicken. Again, I'm using the Penzeys Bangkok blend. I've already coated it. We'll just let that sit there and fall in love, as again the Arringtons would say. But I'm going to get my onions started and my celery started, and I'm going to try and get it to wilt down a little bit. Another valuable tool for the kitchen. So I got the onions and the celery in the oil cooking down. Probably I'll let them go 5-6 minutes, maybe somewhere around there, and then I got my celery and my onions sweated down pretty good. Don't be afraid to brown your onions. In this dish, the onions are not there for texture; they're there for flavor. So don't be afraid to cook them. Don't be afraid to cook the celery. You're going to want to cook the celery well, because you don't want chunky celery in this dish. It's going to be more of a soupy dish than something that you would want chunky celery in. All right, I'm going to turn my heat down a little bit because I got to get my garlic in there, and you can burn garlic pretty easy if you let it run hot. I'm going to put the garlic in there for just a few minutes. I probably sweated these onions and celery down for a good 7 to 8 minutes. We're going to let the garlic get in there, move it around some. Okay, don't forget that your chicken's going to cook too, so you can add that time to your celery and your onions, right? So what I do is I push everything out of the way, get it built up on the sides, because it's going to sit over here and cook. I'll add a little bit more olive oil because it's getting a little dry in here. And then I put my chicken in there. Kind of move it around, get that oil moving around. I apologize if it seems like I'm really far away. I got this little Peebo that's supposed to follow me around, which it's doing a great job. but I don't have a tripod yet for it, so I have it sitting on top of my refrigerator. Cases like this, the liquid soap dispenser, you don't have to touch anything when you've got chicken all over your hands. It's a great idea. That was my wife's idea. So we're going to brown this chicken off. Once you lay it down, I usually only do one side at a time when it's not in the pan. I've laid the spice. I guess I shouldn't have talked about my little Peebo, because as soon as I did, it got lost and it started staring at the cabinet, but that's the way it goes. All right, I don't know where it turned, but I had the chicken, moved all the onions and the celery aside, put a little more oil in there because the pan was a little dry, and I put the chicken in there on spice side down, and then I added more spice to the side that's up, and now I'm going to cook this chicken, get it somewhat done, because I use chicken thighs. You can cook chicken thighs till the end of time, and you probably won't hurt them, and they taste better to me. And as soon as they're ready and they're done, I'll plate the whole dish, and then we just let it cook. Okay, the chicken's done a really nice job browning on this one side, so I'm going to flip it. Let it get going on the other side. I call this a dump dish, because this is the point where you start dumping crapola in there. But, so, chicken's brown on both sides, not necessarily done, doesn't have to be done because we're going to do some simmering here. Here I got my sausage that I prepared earlier. Again, you don't have to put sausage in there. Matter of fact, I've never put sausage in there, but I had the sausage in there. And you can't go wrong with a little extra pork in your dish. I'm going to go in with these tomatoes. I use Italian style diced tomatoes, Mexican style diced tomatoes, whatever you find in the store, diced tomatoes. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go in with 2 cans of those. Of course, the Italian style add a little flavor with their seasoning, but they never really are seasoned that much. I'm going to go in with a can of Rotel. Get it smoothed out. All right, now I'm going to go with a secret ingredient here. I cook this all different ways when I do it, and I just happened to be in the pantry a minute ago, and I realized I had some rice noodles in there. I know you're just coming off of spring rolls, but this is also very good when you do it this way. Take these very thin vermicelli rice noodles and just kind of layer the top. They go a long way, believe me. And when I say they go a long way, I bet you can see them breaking off and going a long way. Get them on the top. I know this looks a little strange, but we got to get some kale in there. The bigger the pan, the better on this dish. Unfortunately, I should have probably done it in a Dutch oven, and I didn't. Or maybe something smaller. Now I'm going in with my kale. This is super fit kale. So bag kale's okay. It has a lot of stems. They use a lot of the stems in it and stuff. If you were to buy bunch kale yourself, you could pull the leaves, shred the leaves, and get all the tender greens off. But you know, we're going to cook this, and the stems will cook in, so it's fine. So I just keep layering my kale on here until I can't layer it no more. For some reason, I don't ever have to worry about the kale that falls on the floor because my dogs love it. I don't know why. I'm not a big fan of raw kale, but boy, I sure like it when it's cooked like this. I will mound it on here as absolutely high as I can get it. I usually try and get a complete bag in here, but I think I have a little bit of extra chicken in there, and with the sausage in there, it takes a little doing. Rake is grabbing kale from between my legs. The interesting thing is, they don't fight. Maybe because they know the recourse if they do. I don't know. Kind of like growing up when you were a kid and you got in a fight with your brother. I know with me and my brother, we got the wooden spoon. You know, that wooden spoon stuff on Facebook that you see is real. Believe me. Broke a mini wooden spoon. Alright, so I got a little bit of kale left in the bag. I'm going to leave it there. Now, there's only one thing left to do. Now you want to fill this with chicken stock. Now I have 2 boxes sitting out here because I had one in the refrigerator from the other day that was half full. And you want to put, I usually put about a box in there, but you know, you don't want to overflow the pan, so you got to kind of peek down in there once you get a half a box in and make sure that it's not coming up the side of the pan too far. All you got to do is push down on the side of the kale. If you don't see it, keep going. I got a messy stove to clean up here when I'm done, but it'll be worth it. The thing about cooking videos is you don't get a lot of chance to look into the camera, which might be a good thing in my case. Alright, I'm about 3/4 of the way up the pan. I'm going to dump just a little bit more in here. No salt, no pepper, because the chicken stock's got a lot of salt in it. The tomatoes have a lot of salt in them. Pepper, the Bangkok spice covered that. I'm going to cover this, and we're just going to let it simmer until it all breaks down, until it's where you want it. If you like your kale firm, then take it out when the kale's firm. If you like your kale mushy, that's the way I prefer it. I prefer it to be cooked through. Then you'll know when it'll tell you when it happens. Now, if you like it cooked more, you're going to have to, as this goes, you're going to have to keep checking your fluid level. You'll see it start to wilt down, but you may need to add a little more chicken stock to it. Probably about 10 minutes in, when the kale starts to wilt, you can push it down into the fluid. And that's what I like to do. If you're uncertain if your kale's ready, grab one of these stems, especially if you use bag kale, and try one. If it's tender, it's ready. If it's not, let it go a little longer. I simmered my recipe, my kale recipe, for about 22 minutes, and it's just the way I like it. You may want to go a little longer, you may want to go a little shorter. It's very easy to take the top off and try it. If you like the video, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Leave any comments below. Y'all be good. Ooh, delicious. Working her around a little bit. You can cut up your chicken if you want. Can you just imagine what that's going to taste like?